Jimoh Buraimoh. Jimoh Buraimoh is a Nigerian painter and bead artist. He is well known around the world for his colorful portraits that represent the culture of Azagabo, Nigeria. A portrait is when you create an art piece that focuses on the face of the person you are capturing. His portraits are created with bright colors and shapes. He paints with oil paint and glass beads. If you look closely, you can see the beads in this painting. He was one of the first African artists to paint this way. His work has been shown in art galleries around the world. This is one of his openings in Nigeria. Sometimes he will also include animal portraits with his portraits of people. What animals do you see in these paintings? What shapes are the heads in his portraits? What shapes are the eyes, noses, and mouths? Sometimes he will use shapes in his backgrounds. Sometimes he will do color blends. Can you see both of these here? Jimoh Buraimoh has taught children all over the world. He has a wish that others will be inspired by his work and will create art as well. So for this first step, you're just going to need a pencil and a few sheets of paper. And we're just going to be learning how to draw the shapes of Jimoh Buraimoh's work. So as we go in and we look at his different people, we're going to be looking at the shapes of his heads. We have everything from this shape to this one, to this littler one. We're also going to be looking at the shapes of his eyes, the different ways that he draws them, the different ways that he makes noses, and the different ways that he makes mouths. Now later on, once this lesson is drawn, you can go ahead and use all different kinds of mediums. So you can use watercolors, you could use oil pastels, you could use markers, crayons. It's going to be up to you, but we'll get to that later on in the project. So first, let's just learn how to do some drawings inspired by his work. So the first thing I want you to notice are these different head shapes. So you'll see we have different ovals, we have small ovals, we have long ovals, we have ovals that have kind of more of a square type shape at the top. So for the first part of this project, you just need a sheet of white copy paper and a pencil, and maybe an eraser too. That might make it a little bit easier for you. And we're going to start first with just making some thumbnail sketches on here. So remember, a thumbnail sketch is when we just want to work out a small scale drawing. So I'm going to go and make a line about 1/4 of the way across the top of my paper, 1/4 of the way down, and 1/4 of the way over. And I'm going to be putting in 3 of these thumbnail sketches. So let's go ahead and get them all drawn. So on your paper, you want 3 thumbnail sketches, and you don't want them tiny, okay? They should take up a good chunk of your paper. If you've made them tiny, you need to start over because it'll be very frustrating for you, okay? So we're going to be creating 3 different thumbnail sketches today, and these thumbnail sketches, we're going to use these to make our final art piece. So first we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at the different shapes that Jimoh Buraimoh uses in his artwork. So let's first just look at the shapes of the heads. So you'll see that we have ovals. Some are larger ovals, some are smaller ovals. Some are long. Some are a little bit more squared off, more angular. And if you look over at this one, some have a very, very interesting shape. Oh, look at this one. That one is a very interesting shape too. So if you want to do some that are a little bit more interesting in shape, you can. I'm going to go ahead and start first with a couple of ovals. So to make an oval, one of the easier ways to do it is to start with a rainbow shape. And I'm going to be making this pretty big inside of my space here. And then I put a big smile on the bottom. And let's try to put in 3 different ovals here. Some of his were big, some were smaller. And you'll notice in his work, let's look one more time, do you see how his ovals overlap each other? They're all touching. So let's try to do that. Let's try to put in 3 for this one and play with different sizes of ovals. And maybe you want some to be more squared on top, some bigger, some smaller. So get 2 or 3 different ovals. Now once we have our ovals, we're going to go ahead and choose different kinds of eyes to put in. So if you notice, he's got circle shapes, half circle shapes right here. He has lemon shapes or a football shape. He'll do circles inside of circles. So go ahead and choose a few different kinds of shapes. Don't do the same ones. Let's do some different ones. You can do what I'm doing, or you can look. You can pause the video on his images and then choose what you want to do. So you're going to get eyes put into all 3 of them. And now we're going to go ahead and add in some nose shapes. And you'll notice he has triangle shapes, and some are more rectangular. Some are kind of a combination of a rectangle triangle. And if you look over here, you'll see that this one is actually very rounded. So you choose some different kinds of shapes for your noses. Whatever you choose is fine. And now from here, we're going to look at some of the mouth shapes that he does. You'll see that he does ovals with lines going through and then big circles going round. This one is more football shaped. This one is kind of a triangle and a rectangle shape. So he does all different kinds of mouths. So go ahead and choose a mouth shape that you would like. So now we have 3 friends, and we're going to go ahead and give them either hair or a hat now. And you'll notice what he does is he'll come in and he'll add in another curved line. And that is how he'll place hair. And then sometimes he'll put more of a turban shape on as well, or a hat if someone is or having a head wrap. So go ahead, you can come inside if you want and add in hair, or you could go outside. You could make it small, you could make it big. You could do it inside and outside. There are so many different ways you can wear your hair. And now we're going to go ahead and look at the different neck shapes and shoulders. So you'll see the necks and then the shoulders, and these ones, the shoulders are very rounded. This one is very angular, more like a rectangle. So we're going to go ahead and add on some neck shapes. And then you could do rounded or angular shoulders, it's up to you. And your friends might touch one another, they might not. And so we now have 3 different friends here. Now another thing that he'll do is he'll add in repetition. So repetition is when you repeat something over and over again. So maybe circle, circle, circle. Maybe you'll put in zigzags. Zigzag, zigzag, zigzag. You could do a pattern. So maybe you do a straight line, a curved line, a straight line, a curved line, a straight line, a curved line. So in a few places in your drawing, let's go ahead and add in some repetition in a few places. Now the next thing I want to go ahead and look at are his backgrounds. So you'll notice in his background, sometimes he'll just do big shapes. So he'll just go in and draw some curved lines. And then sometimes he'll go from one color into another. So he'll fade from one color into another. So if you look here, he's gone from red into a yellowish orange, into a white, into a yellow. So sometimes he'll blend from one color into the next in his background. I think I'm going to put in some simple shapes into this background. So I can just come in and just put in a few lines. And if you would rather do color fades in yours, you can. But I'm just going to put a few lines into mine and break up my background a little bit. I could do straight lines, curved lines, zigzag lines, any kinds of lines I want. And so here is one way that you can make an art piece inspired by Jimoh Buraimoh. So now I'm going to show you another thing that you can do, because you'll notice that sometimes he'll add in animals. So you'll see that we have a lion here with an elephant back in behind. So I want to show you how to add in a few animals now. So in this thumbnail sketch, we're going to try something new. And we're going to start with a lion head. Now your lion's face can be either on this side or this side. So take your finger first and just decide which side you want. Okay, I'm going to put mine over here. Now on the side that I want my lion, I'm going to go about to the middle of my thumbnail sketch. And I'm going to go ahead and make an oval shape. And this is going to be for my lion's face. Now inside of this, I'm going to go ahead and draw a line. And this line is a little bit more than halfway up. And inside of this line, I'm going to draw 2 angled lines. And then I'm going to connect those lines together. And now I'm ready to put in my eyes. And I'm going to come out to the outside edge of that line, and I'm going to make a curve and a curve. And then I could add one more inside. And that will give me my lion's eyes. Now I'm going to go ahead and finish my lion's nose by taking and putting a triangle on the bottom of that shape we made. And then we're going to come to the bottom of that triangle and put in a curve in one direction. And then we're going to put in a curve in the other direction. We're not going to put in our whiskers yet. We're going to wait to put in our lion whiskers later. But we could come over now and add in one ear. And add in another ear, just using a half circle shape. Now, and lions also have manes, so we can just take and make some zigzag triangular lines going round. And we have a lion's head now. Now we're going to put in the lion's body. So we're going to first come in and put in one leg, but first come to above the head and draw a line down. And then we're going to drop down a little ways to add in our other part of our leg. And we're going to put in a squish circle or an oval for a foot with a couple of lines. And let's add in another lion leg. We just draw in 2 lines, one connecting to our last leg. And we're going to put in another squish circle or oval and put in our next foot. Now we're not going to worry about the tummy of the lion yet, but we are going to put in its back. Now we're going to come up and we want to do a big rainbow shape because we want to be able to fit people in here. So I'm going to come and I'm going to make a big rainbow shape and I'm going to drop it down all the way over. And then once I get all the way over, I'm actually going to make a leg over here with a squish circle. Oh, we've got one leg. And we're going to do the same thing here that we did over there. We're going to take and draw one line down. Add in another one. And put in our next squish circle. And there is our back leg. And then we could also come and add in a lion tail. Now in here we have room to put some people. And so you're going to, once again, choose some different shapes. You might have them be longer, you might have them be smaller. You can go back in and look at this if you want to get some ideas of different shapes of heads you could use. And I think I have room for just 2 heads, and I want to make them kind of big. I'm not going to make them too small. And it would be nice if they are overlapping. And once I get my 2 heads drawn, then I'm going to go ahead and choose different kinds of eyes for each of them. And I'm going to go ahead and put in my faces just like I did over here. Now once I get my basic people drawn, then I need to finish the lion. So I come to the back part of the front leg and I draw over for the tummy of the lion. When I get to a face, I hop over it. And I draw over and I hop over and then I connect. And now once again I can play with repetition and pattern. So now I have people with a lion. So that's my second thumbnail sketch. Now I'm going to move into my last thumbnail sketch. And in this one, we're actually going to include an elephant. So as we go to do this one, you're once again going to decide which side of the paper do you want to be on. I think I'm going to do this side this time. You can choose. And you're going to come up into the top corner of your thumbnail. You're going to leave a little bit of room. And you're going to put in a curved line. And this is going to become your elephant's trunk. And you can have your elephant's trunk hang down, or you can have it go up like I did. So I put in an elephant's trunk, and I'm going to drop in an elephant's leg. Now the elephant's leg is a little bit different. It goes straight down and then it has some curved lines. I could also add in a tusk as well if I want. And one more elephant leg. And I'm seeing I want that leg a little bit thicker, so I went and changed my shape a little bit. So now I'm going to go ahead and put in the other side. So I'm going to curve over. I'm going to leave a little bit of room so I have room for a tail. I'm going to come all the way down and I can put in one elephant leg. And I can put in 2 elephant legs. And I can add on an elephant's tail. Now I'm going to have room for a couple of people. So go ahead and draw the shapes of the people how you want. Don't make them too tiny. It's good to make your people a little bit bigger. And once you get your people's heads put in, then you can go ahead and choose the kind of faces that you want. Now, sometimes it might get a little bit tricky with your shoulders. So you can, if your people cross over into your elephant, you can always go in and erase it out. So see how this one was a little bit farther in. So I just went and erased it out. And I can do the same thing for that one too. So maybe in this one, I lose some of this elephant leg. And that's okay. So I could make room for my people if I don't have as much room for people. And now the last thing I would do is I would come underneath and do that line. I hop over, and I already have that one done. I can add an eye onto my elephant as well. And then I can also go and add in different patterns, repetition. I could make it more interesting. So now you're going to see you have 3 different thumbnail sketches to work from. So as you go to make your art piece, you can use this as your reference guide. And so maybe you decide you just want to do people. Maybe you want to do people with a lion. Maybe you want to do people with an elephant. It's your choice. So you're going to go ahead and get your fresh sheet of paper. You're going to set this one up to the side so you can still see it as your reference guide. And you're going to be choosing one of these now to do large. So whichever one you want to do is completely up to you. I think I'm actually going to do a lion today. So I'm going to use this as my guide, and I might do it similar to this. I might change it around just a little bit. But so what I want you to do now is you're going to do your drawing. So whatever you want to do, go ahead and draw it. So one thing to think about as you do it though is you want to make sure that you do it big to fill your whole paper. So you don't want to make it really, really tiny. You want to actually fill your whole space, okay? So that's one thing to think about. It's like if you're just doing your heads, make sure you do heads big, okay? If you're doing your elephant, make sure your elephant is big. And I'm going to do my lion big. So that's the only thing you need to consider as you draw. All right, so once I have my thumbnail blown up, so I've gone in, chosen one of my thumbnail sketches, and I've made it big now on my sheet of paper. Now I can go ahead and choose what medium I want to use for it. Now I did mine on drawing paper, so because I'm on drawing paper, I need to either use markers, oil pastels, or colored pencils. Well, actually crayons would work too. If I drew it on watercolor paper, then I could use watercolor paints, tempera paints, or watercolor pencils. So depending on the paper you use, that will change what you can do with your project. Now, since I've used drawing paper, I'm going to use oil pastels to fill in mine. And I'm going to go through that process of how to use oil pastels. And so if you need to learn how to use oil pastels with this project, you're welcome to join me and learn how to do that. So one of the most important things as you're going to use oil pastels for this project is you want to have either the smaller oil pastels or oil pastels that have a finer tip to them. So if you have really old ones like this can be a little bit harder because you need finer tips. So know that if you've got really old ones, then it would be better to use crayons or markers or colored pencils for this project. But I have this new set, so I've got nice tips on them. It'll be really, really easy to do. And so I'm going to be using these. Now, a couple of things I'm going to want to have a sheet of paper that I can put underneath. I need a placemat, okay? And this is important because I'm going to be going off over the edge. So I'll need a placemat. I'm also going to need a sheet of paper, and I could even use my thumbnail sketch if I want to. And I'm going to need a sheet of paper so when I go to color, if I have oil pastels here, I won't smear, okay? And I'll be showing you this as we go. So those are a few things you're going to need today. So as I go to color, I can use any colors I want. If I'm right-handed, I'm going to want to start in this right-hand corner and work this way. If I'm left-handed, I'm going to start in this corner and I'm going to work that way, okay? That way it'll help me to not smear on my paper so much. I'm also not going to be using this black oil pastel. Instead of using the black oil pastel, I'm actually going to be using a black colored pencil. So I'm going to take and put this black oil pastel off to the side so that I don't forget, and I'll put my black colored pencil here to help remind me. So now I'm going to go ahead and put in any kind of background I want, and then I'll also start doing my lion. Now when I work with oil pastels, I like to get really rich, full color. So here's if I don't press very hard. And it's okay to do that with oil pastels, but as you get more advanced with oil pastels, you'll learn that you can actually fill in color all the way with just a little bit more pressure. And one of the things that I love about his work is how bright the colors are. So I'm going to get mine very, very bright by pushing a little bit harder. And it's okay if I go off the edge of my paper because I have my scratch sheet there to catch it. And now I could keep working down or I could work over. I think I'm going to move into my lion now. Now if I accidentally, let's say I get some blue onto my pastel, remember I can go out onto my scratch sheet and I can just clean it off. So I go to my scratch sheet and I could totally just twirl it around, and that is how you clean an oil pastel. Now I forgot and I colored over this, which means now my hand's going to smear into it. So I can take my scratch paper, I can lay it over the top, and now I don't have to worry about that crossing over. So see how this protects me from smearing. Now I'm going to actually show you how to do the face right now using your black pencil. So I can come in and color in my eyes, and I'm going to leave a little bit of a highlight in there. I'm going to do it on this side as well. And then I'm going to color in the tip of my nose. And then I can trace over my mouth. I could trace over my eyes as well. I could trace around my face. I could trace around my ears. And then I could also trace around my mane. Now I haven't finished coloring here though, so I'm going to wait to trace where I haven't finished coloring. But if you want to add on whiskers, you can make some spots for whiskers and you can pull some whiskers in. So I'm going to finish doing the rest of my outlining later, but I wanted to show you how it works using your black colored pencil. And the nice thing about using the black colored pencil is the tip is so tiny, it's very easy to do these thin lines and come in here and color. Whereas the black oil pastel, you see how big the tip is here. It would be much harder to control it. So using your black colored pencil gives you a lot of control, and so that's why I switched to this one. And when I'm finished coloring the entire thing in, then I'm going to go ahead and take this and go over all of my lines, making sure I use this paper to protect as I go. So now I'm going to go ahead and keep coloring it in. Oh, and one other thing about oil pastels is you start to get all this little buildup. So know that you can then take it onto your scratch paper. You just tap it off, and so you'll have that little bit of extra stuff there. Now the last step is going to be to go over all of my lines with my black colored pencil. I'm going to make sure I use my sheet so that I protect my artwork and I don't smear it. So wherever I had a pencil line before, I'm going to go ahead and trace over it. Now you can do just one line. I like to make mine a little bit thicker, so you can see I'm kind of going over mine, but that's going to be up to you. You might like it just like this, and that's great as well. I just like mine to be a little bit stronger, so you get to choose what you want. And know that as you do it, you're going to start to get some buildup on your pencil, and you might have to take and clean your pencil off as you go. And so you can see by how tracing in the black lines, how it makes all of the features really start to pop out and have more contrast. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I'll see you the next time. Have a great day. Bye-bye.